I divorced myself from Dani and all of her actions. She stresses me out too.
Because if she is saying that the fandom is not going to be very happy with her at all, that makes me think worst case scenario between Dani and Bill. Happy Sunday, fellow Beyond the Gates viewers, as I am back to do my usual preview of this up-and-coming week, the week of June 8th, which I think is going to be a very interesting week, at least tons of action. This is the most I've been looking forward to a week in a very long time. Now, the aftermath of the week, will we just be stuck with boring stories again? That's a big possibility. But for now, since it's gone so long without sight of those 2 episodes with the Impaler and the Cotillion, we've had months of these storylines kind of just like wading in the water and just kind of like doggy paddling in the water. I'm ready for things to really get going, and I think this week is going to do it with the crossover and a big old natural disaster. Let's talk about the video preview first, which we see Victor Newman getting off of a CGI helicopter, and then he and Vernon greet and hug. The Victor Newman appearance is always a big deal. He is the most popular character on The Young and the Restless for many, many, many decades now. So that's a big get for Beyond the Gates, and I do want to see how they use Victor. I don't think it's going to be the typical Victor that we see these days on Young and the Restless, where he is quite the supervillain. They're clearly using him for a good thing with this fundraiser here, so that's interesting. Next, we see Martin getting ready for his fundraiser. This is his fundraiser after all, and things are about to get pretty messed up at his fundraiser. I don't know what that means for the aftermath of the fundraiser for Martin. Will that mean that he's going to be hurt in his campaign race against his opponent? I mean, judging by the preview, which we're about to get to, he might be hurt, period. Because next up, we do see that a tornado is going to be hitting Fairmont Crest. They have been hyping this in the spoilers the past couple of weeks. There's been a promo video showing this as well, which is a big deal. The soap opera Santa Barbara in the 80s used an earthquake to kind of get people intrigued again and kind of reset some characters and some stories, maybe kill a person or two off that was dead weight. I do kind of hope they use this event to do that. I don't have total faith in that. I don't think it's going to be some sort of major reset at all, sadly. Next, we see Vernon trying to get Anita out of harm's way. So Vernon trying to save the love of his life from this incoming tornado. And then in the preview, we see Bill and Dani trapped in an elevator. And I think things are about to get bleak for any Dani and Andre fans out there, because there was a video posted on social media that I'm about to get to in a second after we go through this preview that it doesn't sound very good. Let's just say, typical of a soap opera, when an event like this is going down, whether it's a natural disaster, whether, they have a blackout or something, certain characters get stuck together. I think Bill and Dani are going to be 2 of the characters that obviously get stuck together, and it might actually get quite soapy with those 2. Next, we see the one and only Jack Abbott looking like something bad just went down right after the tornado hit, probably, because then we hear Smitty, I believe, we don't see Smitty in the preview, but we hear him saying something to Martin like, "Can you hear me?" And then we see Nicole and others looking on in shock, which is why I think something's going to happen to Martin during this big event. It's his fundraiser, and he might not get out of this in one piece. I mean, I do think he'll be okay when it's all said and done, but it's not looking so hot for Martin in this preview. And then Ted finds Kat with blood on her hands, and she says it's not her blood, and he asks whose blood. Of course, as I talked about on Friday, best case scenario is Tomas. But we can't have nice things on this show. So I think a lot of your speculation has been it's going to be Eva, and I think that's what it's going to be too. I think 2 of the characters that are going to get stuck together during this event are Kat and Eva, and then something's going to happen to Eva maybe even Eva saves Kat from something, and it happens to Eva instead of Kat, because that was alluded to a long time ago. Eva telling her half sister that maybe someday Kat might need her. There's also speculation that if something does happen to Eva, will she need blood? Will that mean Ted tries to give blood and it's not a match? Could it mean after all this time Ted's not really Eva's father? It's a soap opera, so that is always a possibility. But yeah, there's been a lot of podcasts having Young and the Restless and Beyond the Gates stars on to talk about this crossover event. The great Peter Bergman was on with Daphne Duplex, I can't pronounce her name, who plays Nicole. They were with Michael Fairman, and I thought it was a good interview that anybody that wants to watch it. Peter Bergman is a great interview, and he just really loves soap operas. You could tell he's always wanting to help soap operas, and he said a funny remark about this event so we could really see just how big deal this tornado might actually be.
I will tell you how serious it is. Jack's hair was a mess.
That's bad.
That's a bad natural disaster.
Bad.
A mess.
And then Carla Mosley and Brighton James were on, I don't know how to pronounce her name, with Nat Rishon. It was a clip posted on Twitter that I saw. But something she said in this clip, let's just listen to it first.
It's just one of those where I just say watch and go along for the ride, and I will be walking out in public with a raincoat and sunglasses on so that no one can throw tomatoes at me as I'm walking down the street. I divorced myself from Dani and all of her actions. She stresses me out too.
Because if she is saying that the fandom is not going to be very happy with her at all, that makes me think worst case scenario between Dani and Bill. They might get it on in that elevator, and yeah, fans are going to be pissed at Dani because we just had that episode where we saw how big of a scumbag Bill was with the cheating on her with Haley. Why would Dani do this again with Bill? She does look pathetic when it comes to Bill. So the aftermath of that, I'm just glad we're finally going somewhere with that story. Been waiting for this for a long time, it feels like. So very exciting stuff coming this next week. Per usual, I like to go to some of your comments while I have some time to discuss what you all thought about this past week of episodes. Let's see. Money Magnet Manifest said, Nicole's character has absolutely no depth. Nicole is so self-centered and boundaryless. This doesn't look like her best life. It looks like a life devoid of authenticity and deep connections. What a shallow existence. I agree. Nicole just trying to be Trash 2.0 is not a great existence. And I don't think she has a connection to Carlton or Kyle. And maybe that's why she is longing for a past connection to Ted, but longing for a connection with someone who is still a pushover for the woman that he cheated on you with. Not great. So yeah, watching Nicole's love life, it's hard to root for anything because it's like all of her prospects suck, and she kind of does too because she's Nicole now, thanks to Trash. Marty B1 said, there really hasn't been a whole lot to Nicole's character since she found out Ted had an affair and it produced Eva. They haven't shown her with a real patient other than when Leslie pretended to be one, and meeting with Martin and Peaches doesn't really count either. All we've been getting from her is seeing her tongue down someone's throat. Nicole made a clean break from Ted, but now we're supposed to believe that she possibly wants him back after she slept with his best friend and business partner. Yeah, I don't think they've done a good job of transitioning why all of a sudden Nicole wants Ted back or is having these fantasies about Ted. And that comes down to the writing, and I call out the writing a lot, but like, you got to give us a compelling story to want to root for Nicole and Ted to get back together. It's Yvette said, it's the fact that Naomi is always running her mouth, exposed stuff to Ashley, which ultimately got Derek killed, but she won't tell anyone her dirty secret. She also didn't tell on Haley. She's terrible. They do write Naomi as such a hypocrite when it comes to secrets. And she'll tell everybody else a secret except her own. And I didn't really think about this because the comments kept going with this comment. Shy.L said, You know what? You're right. If Naomi would have kept her mouth shut, Derek would still be alive. I didn't even think about this. Yeah, Jacob told Naomi some information. Naomi went to Ashley. That is part of the reason why things continued to snowball. Let's see. It's Yvette then responded again saying, she is always demanding the truth from someone, but she never wants to talk about her secrets. Exactly. They really do make Naomi quite insufferable. Plus, she's boring. It's like, I don't understand why Naomi gets so much airtime, to be honest. I just really don't. Harriet Smallwood says, if you want drama with Leslie, she should lose all her money and then have her scheme to get it back. It would be believable since she seems to live extravagantly off of these 6-month disbursements. Great point. I don't know how Leslie always has all this money to spend. I don't know why they gave her money in the first place, but we've talked about this before. I do think that was a major mistake with the Leslie character because they just gave her money and then didn't really have a good storyline for her after that. So if I do think a way to right that wrong is for her to lose money and have to scheme to get it back. I think that's a great comment, Harriet Smallwood. Do I think the writers will do that? No. Recap Auntie said, totally agree the Darlene scenes made yesterday's episode bearable. Yeah, those were probably the more entertaining scenes this week with Darlene versus Leslie. Darlene trying to work things out with Eva, but really just sending her away out of her hair. Those were good scenes. Also, check out Recap Auntie's recaps. I do appreciate her appreciating this channel, and I want you all to appreciate her channel as well. Diary of a Sing said, I love the Kat and Jacob affair storyline idea. That storyline might single-handedly get the show a 5th season. If they could really write a really soapy affair between Jacob and Kat, it really shakes up a lot of different things, maybe even makes both Jacob and Naomi more interesting. It can fix a lot of problems. There's been a few detractors in the comments saying that they don't want that to happen. That wouldn't work on a black soap opera because the black audience wouldn't like it. But I don't know if I agree with that. Like, they wanted to make a black soap opera for it to be like the other soap operas, that they can see that black characters can be good, bad, grade too. So I think that would be a good storyline for the show, and I actually think there is some support for Kat and Jacob stans out there. Curly K said, all of this talk about Derek is disingenuous. There was never any indication that any of these relationships with him were so significant. It's as if there aren't a billion other stories they can move along with characters who are still on the show. Hopefully this is the last week we hear any more about how everyone misses Derek. Yeah, like I and others have said, the show, when Derek was on the show, they didn't want to write for him. They didn't want to put him in stories, so they decided to kill him off and they have weeks of people grieving him, trying to make us care when they as writers didn't care about the character in the first place. Stupid. Vernon Luxon said, I hope Dani is not thinking about Bill. He treated her like trash. He's disgusting. He is, but it did seem like Dani was thinking about Bill at the end of that flashback episode, which is a lot of these other comments I'm going to go through while I still have a little bit of time. Adrian Crosby said, at first I was all for Bill and Dani reuniting, but after this episode, Haley is wicked, but Bill deserves what Haley is doing to him. I was so hurt to see it was Chelsea that caught them, but Naomi and Dani basically handed Bill over on a silver platter. I know Haley was working for Bill, but you moved her in your home, easy access, shake my head. The Duprees were stupid when it came to Haley for sure. And yeah, that flashback episode was a good reminder, and I'm glad they did it, that Bill ain't shit. Bill has not been shit since this show started. It's actually why I liked his character when it first started, because I was kind of hoping they would keep him that way, make him one of the main villains, but they've tried to dumb him down too much for the Haley stuff to really do that. And yeah, it's kind of like, who's really the bad guy in this? Bill is one of the bad guys in this. I've never not been rooting for Haley to take Bill down because of this very thing. Bill treated Dani like shit. And just because Dani doesn't have the self-esteem or whatever to ever get over the guy, doesn't take that away. CC EO said, very interesting today, was different, and this is my favorite storyline. I hate Bill, and I want Haley to finish him off. It seemed kind of like Dani was using Andre for comfort and imagining Bill was holding her. Dummy. Dani is a dummy when it comes to Bill, and might be an even bigger dummy with the way this upcoming week is sounding. So I think that flashback episode did do what it was supposed to do to us as an audience. I obviously don't want Bill to die because I still do like the character, even though he is a scumbag. But yeah, Haley has a point to what she's doing to Bill, or trying to do to Bill. Jayway said, based on the tacky way Bill seduced Haley in Dani's bedroom, he deserves all the karma that Haley's bringing. I don't feel sorry for him at all. It's payback. Exactly. Let me see if I can find one more comment before I gotta go. RA-Sun316 says, if Smitty can write a compelling 5-part report based on the foolishness we sat through, he needs to own the newspaper instead of writing for it. This was a great comment because it's true. We sat and watched this Impaler storyline, and yet we're supposed to believe that even though the Impaler hasn't been caught, Smitty can write 5 different articles on this. It's that compelling. Great point. But hopefully we could start moving the Impaler storyline along too. We're supposed to find that out on Monday, I'm assuming. I think the big assumption is that it's Joey's sister. Some people in the comments still think Doug is alive and that is Doug. I don't foresee that, but I'd be pleasantly surprised if that was the case. But I do think we're in for a stellar week of Beyond the Gates, and I don't say that a lot in 2026. Said that a lot last year. So here's hoping for a solid week.